Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a look at the fundamentals of karate.
That's right. We're using a pretty specific source, Basic Karate, Pocket Sports, by Iain Morris. It's from back in 1969.
Yeah, 1969. So this isn't just, a general overview. We're aiming to dig into what was considered basic karate then based on this particular book.
Exactly. It's about extracting those core ideas, the essentials. It gives you a snapshot of the art at that time.
And it's not just the kicks and punches, right? There's a philosophy underneath it all.
Definitely. So our mission today is really to pull out those key bits for you, give you a solid grasp of basic karate as presented here, the techniques and the thinking.
Okay, sounds good. Let's start right at the beginning, the name itself, karate.
Well, the book breaks it down quite clearly. Kara means empty.
Empty.
And T means hand, so literally empty hand.
Empty hand. Simple enough.
But, it's more than just a name. It points straight to its origins in Okinawa. The book talks about how the natives developed it when weapons were forbidden by conquerors.
Right, so it was born out of necessity. Self-protection using only your body. That's powerful.
It really is. It speaks to that resourcefulness, finding strength when external tools aren't allowed. The focus shifts inward to your own potential.
The book also mentions a shift, sometimes from karate-do, the way of the empty hand, to just karate.
Yeah, and it draws a comparison to judo, which is called the way of gentleness. Karate, in contrast, is sometimes framed as the power way.
Interesting distinction. So maybe a greater emphasis on direct force, at least in this early view.
That seems to be the implication here, perhaps reflecting those immediate self-defense needs in its development.
And the book lists quite a few benefits, suitable for pretty much everyone, old, young, men, women. You can practice it anywhere, no special gear needed, alone or with others.
Yeah.
And it helps both the physically weak and strong. That's quite a broad claim.
It is, but what I find interesting there is the accessibility. If it works for different physical types, it suggests technique and body mechanics are really key.
More than just brute strength.
Exactly. It points to a deeper level of skill.
Okay. And speaking of depth, let's touch on kata. These are the forms, right? The
Yeah.
sequences.
Yes, the formal demonstrations. And the book notes they differ from judo or sumo katas in the level of sheer strength required.
Making them more accessible again.
Right. And it mentions there could be as many as 30 different katas.
30? Wow. Each one like a little library of techniques?
Pretty much. It suggests a really rich curriculum, even at the basic level described here.
All right, let's get into the nuts and bolts then. The structure, starting with clenching the fist, hand techniques, or tawaza.
And this book calls it emp, or hajiet, too. It states that in karate schools, the fist is considered the absolute soul of the art.
The soul. That's intense.
It really emphasizes its importance. And tempering, hardening the fist, is seen as essential.
So it's not just making a fist, it's understanding how to make it properly and condition it.
Precisely. It's the foundational tool. Okay, so the book describes the seiken, the normal fist, two main ways. First, thumb held outside, fingers closed tightly. Second, thumb lower down, tucked in, with the fingers bent over it, and all four fingertips pressing into the palm.
Subtle differences. Why the variations?
Well, think about the structure. These slight changes affect how the bones align, how the force is distributed. It's about making it solid, minimizing your own risk of injury on impact, practical mechanics.
Right, preventing breaks.
Yeah.
The book shows some figures too, one with the thumb over the forefinger, another with the forefinger extended but pressed into the palm.
And the constant message is, clench it tight. The main striking point is those first two knuckles, the index and middle finger knuckles.
Because they line up best with the arm bones.
Exactly. Strongest alignment. It's about using your body's design efficiently.
Okay, what else? There's the Hiraken flat or level fist.
Yeah, Hiraken. Here, the forefingers are slightly bent, and the thumb and forefinger kind of form. Well, the book says almost a pair of scissors.
Okay.
And you strike with the base of the thumb and forefinger. The target mentioned is the opponent's neck muscles.
Ooh, specific. Sounds precise.
It is. It's adapting the basic fist shape for a more specialized tool, a different angle, hitting a vulnerable spot.
Then there's Uriken back fist.
Right, using the back of the fist, specifically the middle finger knuckle, usually aimed at the face.
A quicker strike, maybe. Less telegraphed.
Often, yes. Good for close range or as a surprise. Uses different muscles.
Next up, Kensui. The hammer fist.
Palm facing down, striking with the bottom fleshy edge of the hand near the wrist, that hard part.
Seems like a powerful downward or sideways blow.
Yeah, good against softer targets, or for breaking downwards onto, say, a collarbone. Uses that denser part of the hand.
Now it gets even more specific. Hitosashi yubi ipanken, forefinger fist.
You hold the fist like the hurricane, but you project just the knuckle of the forefinger.
Just one knuckle.
Just one. And the targets mentioned are the solar plexus and the jinshu.
Jinshu. That's the bit under the nose, the philtrum.
That's the one. Very precise targets. Hitting nerve centers or pressure points requires a lot of control.
And similarly, there's nakayubi ipanken, middle finger fist.
Same idea, but projecting the middle finger knuckle instead. Still aiming for the solar plexus or jinshu.
The different finger, just a slightly different angle.
Likely affects the angle, maybe the depth, fine-tuning the strike for maximum effect on those small, sensitive areas.
Okay, moving away from knuckles. Tegatana, the piercing hand.
Right. Thumb alongside, fingers straight and extended together.
Like a spear hand.
Exactly. Thrusting the fingertips into the solar plexus or the sides. Then there's hiranukite.
Level piercing hand.
Yeah, using just 2 fingers, usually aimed at the eyes. And a 1-finger version, just the forefinger, also for the eyes.
Wow, okay, those sound incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
Needs immense control, like you said.
Absolutely. Direct, focused force on very vulnerable spots, not techniques to be taken lightly at all.
The book also describes tegatana as a hand sword. Thumb bent in, 4 fingers extended and rigid.
Yes, and here you use the edge of the hand, the pinky finger side, about 1/3 of the palm's edge. It's used like the hammer fist, kintsugi.
So more of a chop than a thrust.
Right, a chopping or slicing action, using the bony edge against the neck, arm, places like that.
Yeah.
Different application of the hand's structure.
Got it. Then hirahasami, flat scissors.
Middle, ring, and little fingers slightly bent. Thumb and forefinger stay straight, like scissor blades.
Okay.
And you strike with the base of that thumb and forefinger V-shape, again targeting the neck muscles.
Another neck technique. Seems like a focus area.
Definitely targets vulnerable anatomy. This shape could maybe allow for a bit of a pinch or grab as well as a strike.
And yubi hasami, finger scissors.
Here, the bottom 3 fingers are folded tightly into the palm. Thumb and forefinger are extended straight, like pincers.
To thrust where?
The throat, according to the book.
Oof. Again, very specific high-risk target.
It really highlights how these hand shapes are designed as specialized tools for exploiting weaknesses. Extreme caution needed, obviously.
Shifting gears a bit, there's a defensive posture. Yumi kobushi, the bow fist.
Yeah, thumb and fingers extended downwards, wrist bent, used specifically to parry blows.
So the bent wrist creates a sort of shield.
The curved, resilient surface, yeah. Uses the forearm and wrist strength to deflect and redirect an attack.
And speaking of forearms, the book covers kote, just using the forearm itself for blocking. 3 ways.
That's right. Outer forearm, omotekote, to parry outwards. Reverse or rear forearm, yokote. And inner or level forearm, hirakote.
Your basic blocking toolkit.
Foundational stuff. Protects vital areas. And they aren't just passive blocks. You can use them to disrupt the opponent and create openings.
Okay. And finally, for this hand-arm section, empi or heiji elbow attacks.
The elbow. Incredibly powerful weapon, especially at close range.
The book mentions using it against the solar plexus again.
Makes sense. Short distance, lots of force from the body's core into that bony point.
And there's several types listed. Vertical, tate empi, lowered, sujita empi. Frontal, zenpi empi. This one sounds nasty. Driven with max force into the solar plexus if you're attacked from behind.
Yeah, turning defense into a very sudden offense, using their momentum.
Lateral, yoko empi, used if you're held horizontally. Roundhouse, mawashi empi, though it's not pictured. And twisting lateral, hinari yoko empi. That sounds complex. Fists at breasts, elbows open, shoulders low.
Simultaneous strikes from side or rear. It just shows the versatility of the elbow strike, different angles, different situations.
The book finishes this section mentioning a few others briefly. Tsukite, thrusting hand, quicker traction. Ukate, defense hand for different levels. And kakiweki, thrusting aside if grabbed with both hands.
Right, just rounding out the toolkit, thrusts, blocks, ways to break grips. A pretty comprehensive set of hand and arm techniques for 1969.
Definitely. Okay, let's move down from the hands and arms to our base. Ways of planting the feet, or ashino tachikata stances.
Absolutely fundamental. Your stance affects everything. Balance, power generation, movement. It's the anchor.
First one is musubidachi, linked feet. Heels together, toes out, body upright, arms at sides, eyes forward.
Sounds formal. It often is. Used for bowing, starting kata, moments of attention, a neutral, balanced starting point.
Then Haisukutachi, blocked foot posture. Feet completely together, heel to toe. Seems narrow.
It is narrow, maybe not great for big power generation, but perhaps useful in tight spaces or as a transition. Needs good balance.
Next, Hachitachi, the figure 8 posture. Two types, outer and inner figure 8. Key thing, knees slightly bent and supple.
That slight knee bend is crucial. Acts like suspension, lets you absorb shock, generate power from the ground. The figure 8 stance gives a stable base, but allows easier movement.
Makes sense. Then Haikodachi, parallel stance. Feet shoulder width, toes straight ahead. Sounds very natural.
Yeah, very stable, balanced, a common starting point for basics. Good blend of rootedness and mobility.
Shizentai is the natural stance, like Haikodachi, but more relaxed.
Exactly. Less formal, more like an everyday readiness. Allows observation without looking too tense, but you're still ready.
And Yoidachi, the ready stance. Similar again, but with more concentration.
Right. Physically might look almost the same as Shizentai, but the mental focus is heightened. You're consciously ready.
Okay, now into more combat-oriented stances. Fudodachi, immovable stance. One foot slightly forward, weight even, knees bent, upper body relaxed.
Sounds like a solid, all-purpose fighting stance. Even weight means you can react quickly in any direction. Bent knees give stability and power potential.
Kakutsudachi, back stance. One leg bent, most weight on the rear foot, front leg straight. For defensive moves, it says.
That tracks. Weight back makes it easier to evade, to shift the front foot out of the way, or use it for a quick counter, all while keeping a stable rear base.
And the opposite. Zenkutsudachi, front stance. Front knee bent over the heel, rear leg straight, weight mostly forward for attacking.
Yeah, the forward lean helps drive powerful forward movements, punches, strikes, designed for offense.
Then the famous one, Gibidachi, horse riding stance. Legs wide, knees bent out, body upright. Looks tough.
It is. Primarily a training stance for building leg strength, core stability. Creates a really solid low base for upper body power.
Sanshindachi, 3 battle stance. One foot slightly ahead, knees bent inwards, body facing forward. Looks tense.
It's often described as a more internal stance. Focuses on core tension, stability, connecting breath and movement. The inward knees also offer some groin protection.
Interesting. Lastly, Nekoashidachi, the cat stance. Most weight on the back leg, front foot just resting lightly, heel up.
Ah, the cat stance, all about agility. Quick changes of direction, weight back lets you whip that front foot up for a fast kick or block or just get out of the way.
All right, so a whole range of stances for different purposes: balance, power, defense, agility. Now let's build on that foundation with leg and foot techniques, ashiwaza, kicking time.
Right, just like the hands, the legs offer a whole arsenal, often more powerful too, using those bigger muscles and obviously greater reach.
First one, hizagiri, the knee kick. Good for close quarters or against someone coming in.
Very effective up close where maybe arm strikes get crowded, can target the body, head, even legs to break balance.
Then kirihanashi, kick release. Supporting the leg bent, kick with the other foot using the foot, instep or ball, and pull it back instantly. Sounds like a snapping kick.
Yeah, speed and retraction are key. Pulling it back quickly keeps your balance and stops the opponent grabbing your leg.
Kirikomi, kick in, similar, but the aim is a strong sweep against the opponent's knee joint, potentially trying to dislocate it.
That's the idea mentioned. It's about disruption, attacking the structure. More driving force than the snapping kirihanashi.
Carriage, upward kick, again, similar mechanics, but using the sole or top of the foot.
Could be aimed low, like at the groin, or used defensively maybe, deflecting low attacks?
Yokogeri, the lateral or side kick, delivered sideways. The book says you can use the foot edge for a kirihanashi-style strike.
Right, the side kick uses powerful hip rotation. Striking with the edge, the blade of the foot focuses the impact. Good for keeping distance, too.
Ushirogeri, rear kick. You kind of turn or twist your waist to kick straight back, aimed at the shin or scrotum.
Powerful, but needs good awareness so you don't get caught off balance or miss the target. Turning away from the opponent is inherently risky.
Meijiri, frontal kick, the classic front kick. Aimed at the liver, solar plexus, lower abdomen.
Yep, fundamental offensive tool, creates distance, disrupts, sets up other things. Also defensive, keeps people away.
Now using specific parts of the foot. Ashikatana, the foot sword. Curved toes up, strike with the little toe edge. Used for fumikomi, kirihanashi, yokogeri. And a warning, don't hit with the base of the little toe.
Precision matters. Using that bony edge concentrates the force. The warning highlights how important technique is to avoid hurting yourself.
Ashizoko, using the sole of the foot to sweep the scrotum or hand. Not pictured, but yeah.
A bit unconventional maybe, but could be surprising up close or against someone low down.
Ashikuvi, the ankle. Stretch toes straight. Attack the scrotum with the shin and lower ankle. Or use it defensively against lower leg attacks.
Requires flexibility and precision again. A sharp, perhaps unexpected strike to a sensitive spot, or a way to deflect kicks.
Fumikomi, stamping kick. Downward stomp with the foot edge or heel.
Good for breaking balance, targeting the foot or lower legs, stopping their movement. Powerful downward force.
Knees get another mention, hisageisha. Just reinforcing their close quarter effectiveness.
Yep. Reiterating the knee's role as a close-in weapon.
Nagaishi, throwing leg. Used to throw the opponent off balance, so a sweep or trip.
Sounds like it. Focuses on breaking their stability, setting up something else, or taking them down.
Migatsuki, 3-day moon. This one's more involved. Opponent advances, you pull them with one hand, grab their wrist with the other, and kick their chest simultaneously. Needs timing.
Yeah, that's a coordinated combination. Drawing them in, controlling, striking all at once shows a higher level of application.
And the last one sounds wild. Sakakutobi, triangle jump. Against 3 opponents. You leap, kick one, headbutt second, kick the third.
Yeah, sounds very dynamic, maybe even cinematic. It's an advanced, highly situational technique. Shows the potential for agility and dealing with multiple threats, however risky.
Okay, shoo. That's a lot of ways to hit things. Now, how do you make sure your hands and feet can actually do that without breaking? Tempering the hands and feet.
Crucial topic. The book flat out states that neglecting this conditioning cuts your power and effectiveness in half for kata and kumite.
50%. That's huge.
It really drives home the point. It's about resilience, being able to deliver power without injuring yourself.
And the main tool for this is the makiwara.
Right. A post, usually wood like cypress or cedar for some give, fixed in the ground, wrapped with straw rope for the striking surface.
So you're repeatedly hitting this thing to toughen up.
Essentially, yes. It builds bone density, toughens skin and connective tissue, and refines your striking accuracy and power delivery against resistance.
What kinds of strikes do you practice on? The book lists 4 main ones. First, chukatsuko, direct thrust. Your basic straight punch, high, middle, low.
Foundational. Ingrains the proper form, develops power from the whole body, improves accuracy at different levels.
Second, agetsuko, rising punch, the uppercut.
Works on that upward angle, generating power from the legs and core for strikes to the jaw area.
Third, foritsuko, swinging punch, left or right, aiming at the face or side.
Incorporates body rotation for power. Practice the arc. Develop impact force from those angles.
Fourth, watsuko, circle punch. If your first punch is blocked, you immediately follow with another in a circular motion.
Yeah, it teaches fluidity, adaptability, how to redirect momentum and keep the offense going if you're initially stopped.
And you also train other hand strikes on the makiwara, hiraken, flat fist, oraken, back fist, kensui, hammer fist.
Right, also nukate, piercing hand, though it cautions about needing correct technique and maybe using a sandbag.
Safer for the fingers, maybe.
Possibly. And tegatana, hand sword, striking diagonally. Even Tate Empi, the vertical elbow strike. It's about conditioning all those different striking surfaces.
And even defensive techniques. Ukede training involves hitting the makiwara with the blocking surfaces of the wrist outer edge, thumb edge, inner side.
Exactly. Toughens those areas to better withstand impact and potentially makes the block itself more jarring or even damaging to the attacker. Active defense.
What about the feet? How do you temper those?
Similar idea. Practicing kicks from different stances like fudotachi, nekwachitachis, and kutsutachi directly onto the makiwara.
Hands held at the hips.
Seems to be the posture described. Kicking with rear foot, front foot, always returning to stance. Striking with those same ashigatana foot edges.
And also moving sideways towards it in the ashikatana stance.
Right. Probably helps develop kicking power while moving, integrating footwork, and striking. They really covered conditioning from multiple angles.
Okay, so we have the tools, we've hardened them. How does it all come together in practice? Let's talk karate kata.
The forms. And the book makes a key point. Unlike maybe judo, you can't just practice many karate techniques full speed on a partner without serious risk.
So kata becomes essential for learning and refining those movements safely.
Exactly. They're like blueprints, preserving and transmitting techniques against imaginary opponents. Living history, in a way.
The book mentions one specifically. Dai Nihon Karate Duten no Kata. Great Japan Karate Way Heavenly Kata, devised by Funakoshi.
Gichin Funakoshi, a huge figure, really instrumental in bringing karate to mainland Japan and standardizing it. So that kata is significant.
And there's etiquette involved. Formal observation, salutes performer to audience, to a shrine, or the master kihon.
Yeah, that respect for the tradition, the teachers, the art itself is deeply embedded. It's more than just exercise.
We get an example. Omote no 1 involves a chudan oitsuki, middle-level pursuit blow. It describes starting from haisokutaji, stepping back, preparing the fists, then stepping forward obliquely into zenkutsu dachi while punching, and it stresses spirit and breath control.
That gives you a taste. Precise sequence, stance transitions, technique application, all done with focus, intention, correct breathing, body and mind working together.
Now, what about practicing with someone? Kata of kumite.
Right. Kumite today generally means sparring or partner work. When kata is done by two people, the book calls the attacker samete and the defender ukete.
And this is mainly for contest kumite, or sparring preparation.
It serves as that bridge between solo forms and free sparring. Applying techniques against a partner, but in a controlled way first.
The first type mentioned is yakusoku kete, agreement kata, prearranged sequences for safety.
Absolutely essential, especially early on. Both partners know exactly what's coming, so they can focus on execution, timing, distance, without unexpected danger.
The example is URA NO1, Gedambarai Chudansuki, lower sweep, middle punch.
Okay.
It describes the salutes, initial stances, samite sweep, Yukate's block, and counterpunch, with a ki shout.
That kai, the focus shout, helps to channel energy, marks the technique.
And then returning to ready and reversing rolls. It sounds very choreographed.
It is. But that choreography teaches specific principles. How to respond to that attack, the timing, the movement. Both partners learn the interaction.
The book really pushes zealous practice of these agreement kumite forms. To understand the real meaning, train for emergencies.
It's not just dancing, it's about internalizing the principles.
Yeah, it lists precepts, treat it like it's real, be serious to avoid injury, attack with full intensity without hitting.
Don't pull punches conceptually, but maintain control physically.
Exactly. And merge defense and counterattack into one fluid motion. That seems key.
That instant transition from defense to offense is fundamental in practical application. Respond and counter immediately.
It also briefly lists other types. Tanshiki kumite kata, simple, and fukushiki kumite kata, double, suggesting increasing complexity.
Likely, more complex sequences, maybe multiple attackers implied in fukushiki, building towards more dynamic scenarios.
And finally, jiyu kumite, free or contest kumite.
This is free sparring, applying techniques freely offensively and defensively, like actual combat.
But with a huge warning. Take great care to stop blows before contact to avoid serious injury.
Absolutely paramount. Control is everything in jiu kumite.
And novices shouldn't do it until their teacher says they're ready, and only under supervision in a proper club.
Makes complete sense. It's the ultimate test of skill, timing, reaction, but safety has to come first. You need that control before engaging freely.
Well, that's quite a journey through basic karate circa 1969. From the meaning of empty hand, through fists, stances, kicks, conditioning, kata, and kumite.
It really is a comprehensive foundation laid out in that book. Covers the physical techniques, the conditioning, the practice methods, and hints at the underlying mindset, too.
Yeah, it gives a solid framework.
Yeah.
So, thinking about it all, the physical precision, the conditioning, the focus needed for kata, the control in kumite, it makes you wonder. Considering that strong emphasis on both the physical technique and that inner spirit or discipline, how could those principles from basic karate, extend beyond just self-defense?
Right. Into other parts of life.
Yeah. Things like focus, discipline, using your capabilities effectively. Could exploring this art, even just understanding its foundations like we've done today, offer insights for personal growth, facing challenges outside the dojo?
That's a fascinating thought. The mental discipline, the perseverance, the self-awareness you cultivate. It's hard to imagine they wouldn't have broader applications. Definitely something to chew on.